We went to Malta to explore some of its famous ancient ruins. These include some of the oldest freestanding temples in the world, with some fascinating carvings, and there were cartwalks all over the islands and beneath the waters around them. While researching, we found out about a really interesting eco-friendly project close to Mjar, which was formed to help raise the vibration of the planet, and we couldn't resist exploring that as well. So this is the Vortex, an eco-friendly village or commune that we've come to stay at for a week. It's a very interesting place actually, so we're going to show you around now.
Yeah.
Here's the boss man, Andrew.
We don't have bosses in this new way of doing things. We have made the best idea win. So that's sort of a philosophy that we live by. Now we're cleaning out the kitchen. One of the volunteers, Naomi.
Hey!
This is food. Loads of food for the volunteers, which we've made in waterproof, rat-proof containers. So yeah, made the best idea win is a really good philosophy to live by, because instead of having a boss or a leader, people are open to discuss things, you know. It could be something as simple as where to put the food to store. In a conventional hierarchical way of doing things as a boss, and the boss would just say, I think it's best to put the food there, and everybody would just obey. But
Yeah.
if people are empowered and encouraged to sort of speak their mind and think for themselves, then let's say the founder will say, okay, let's put the food there, but someone else will feel confident to say, what if we put the food there? How does this sound, you know?
It's like a true democracy rather than a dictatorship.
Exactly.
It's great.
So may the best idea win is a good sort of philosophy.
So how does the kitchen work then? You have gas in here or anything? Or?
Not yet. To start with, we made rocket stoves. The rocket stoves are a very basic and popular way of cooking. They're used in India and the third world a lot because they use a little bit of wood and they're a very efficient cooking system. So we're experimenting with rocket stoves. A year or two down the line we want to make a biogas cylinder and demonstrate to people how from manure and compost you can generate gas and then use the gas for cooking.
Yeah.
It's a bit more complicated to do, but since this is a demonstration area, we want to show people how they can do things if they put their mind to it.
Yeah, that's right.
We built everything from recycled materials. This was a hunting lodge a few months ago, and now it's the kitchen.
Right.
Sort of a dry kitchen, because most of the time volunteers love to cook by the fire.
So all this was built by people who, they weren't builders, they just volunteers come along and they kind of just work it out for themselves.
That's it. It's pretty much make it up as you go along, and we'll learn by doing, learn from our mistakes, loads of mistakes, but
That's the best way to learn, right?
yeah, I don't really see it as a mistake, you know, like just see it as experimenting, and if the kitchen leaks a bit, we can patch it up, you know, and sometimes we can plan things better as well, but
We made quite a few mistakes when we were doing the window the other day.
something like that.
And with that dry stone wall this morning, I threw a rock down and it just went...
But we're all gaining invaluable experience this way, you know, and all the things that we're applying ourselves to. There are some volunteers planting trees as well, which might be fun to see.
If you could show us around, that'd be great. So this is the Vortex. You can see where we just were at the kitchen, and as we pan around you can see this wall that splits the land into the upper and lower levels. The upper level is primarily used as the living quarters, and the lower level as a place to grow. From this viewpoint you can see the vegetable garden, but they also have some vineyards and some orchards too.
These happy volunteers are chopping wood, so we'll put it in a dry place, and then when the rains come, there'll be loads of dry wood for people to cook on and for the fire. Here's the communal fireplace. This is where most of the music happens at night, and where people just hang out, make tea. And people love to cook out here rather than in there as well, because it's just more relaxed on a deck chair and sit around the fire.
Over here there's a store cupboard, right?
Yeah, again recycled. These were existing buildings that were here a long time ago that were dropped down. These were actually British military buildings that were used in World War II, and we restored it using most of the same stones. And we built a living roof, and the living roof is just another way to minimize our footprint in nature. Because as we take up, 20 square meters of footprint for a room, what we can do is we can put some soil on the roof,
Yeah.
and then plants will grow and birds will come back over there, and insects and butterflies, and we're compensating for our footprint on the ground by creating a living roof.
Wow, that's brilliant. So you expect for trees to come up here and...
Bushes, shrubs.
Trees, the roots are too big, I guess. But
Shrub.
grass, things that need small roots.
Yeah, lizards, chameleons, birds, they all find it, as opposed to
Living roof.
concrete or stuff, you know, it's very cool.
So you have a well here.
So well and water is the source of life, it's fundamental obviously. So this, if anybody is setting up any project, any farming project, any ecological project, whatever, the first thing they have to think of is water. What's different about this kind of well is that it's not just a dry well, it's a well that goes down about 5 meters, and the groundwater seeps into the well, filling it up all year round. Before, they knew a lot more about water than now, you know. They would observe the land and see in the summer which place would stay green the longest, where the water is most likely to flow underground, and they would decide to dig there. They would dig, very often they would find water, and then they would make this kind of well, you know, around it, where all year round you can draw water from it. Over here we have a little nursery. This is still a basic nursery for vegetable seedlings.
What is this?
Okay, so over here we have a vegetable mandala. What we've done is we've planted vegetables in a geometric shape. You can see it more from an aerial view, and it's still experimental.
Yeah.
We have a PVC pipe geodesic dome in the center, which we're going to grow vegetables over.
So how does that work? You're going to put like a mesh over?
No, we'll grow vegetables that actually creep up. There are certain vegetables, like I think pumpkins or sweet potatoes and other vegetables that actually grow, and then you can train them. Once a week you grab the stalk and pass the front part of the stalk around it.
Oh, okay.
And it will cover it with green, and the vegetables will hang on the inside. And
Wow.
here we're demonstrating that you could still make something functional, artistic. You know, growing food doesn't have to be always just growing food. It can also be an artistic thing, and since you want to inspire creativity, we chose to do this, which is the first place that people see. And
These are cabbages, are they?
these are broccoli. They got a bit here, cauliflower. We have a baby one here. They got a bit attacked since we're growing organically and we're still learning how to do things.
Yeah.
We have these caterpillars that found them extremely delicious, and we're still learning on how to tackle this. You know, so we found some natural repellents that we can do, and we're picking them and doing things. You know, it's like a research farm. So this is our first crop.
Yeah.
And it's still very, very experimental, but it's
You
fun.
don't want to ask Monsanto then?
No, definitely not. We have some lettuces over here, the baby green ones. And over the past week we've set up these beds over here. We set them up in a linear fashion because it's just a lot more efficient to irrigate than in a mandala style, you know. And what we did was first we put fertilizer on the soil, and then we put cardboard, and then we put mulch, which is basically organic matter like leaves. So these are all going to break down and add nutrients to otherwise very depleted soil. This is clay actually we're growing on, it's not soil. Most farmers would laugh at us like they did. So over here we've built a compost toilet, which basically has a plastic tank underneath.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is we're reusing human waste to fertilize the soil with. So basically the way it works is the human waste goes into a tank.
Yeah.
And that tank you add organic matter like sawdust, paper, leaves, and it sits there for about 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
And after 12 months 98% of the harmful bacteria in the human waste would have broken down, making it safe to handle with your bare hands. Then we can use it as mulch, so we'd get buckets full of that and put it on top of fruit trees, and they would love it. It would just be full of nutrients, you know, and it won't smell anymore, it won't have any harmful bacteria. So you're addressing a major problem and turning it into something that works for you.
Really recycling. So that's all, it's just sawdust, that's it?
Just sawdust and poo. And poo now becomes a valuable asset, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of going down in the drain and out to sea and being like damaging to the environment and toxic, it becomes an asset. It's like gold, you know? It becomes peat, compost, and 12 months down the line it's like, it smells really good, it feels really good. It's kind of like going under a tree and taking that black super good soil up, you know? So it's that good.
So you can only use it on certain trees, did you say? On the fruit trees?
We use it on the fruit trees as opposed to vegetables, you know, because there are small elements of bacteria that remain. So let's say rather than fertilizing the lettuces and then eating it, we use the fruit trees because it's easy to understand why, you know.
Yeah, of course. So this land is yours also? Or?
Yeah, over here. So these are called swales. A swale is basically a water catchment system. What normally happens on land that has been raped by conventional agricultural practices like this and most of the Western world is there are no trees, there's no grass, there's no bushes. So what happens is the rainwater falls, it takes the top nutrients of the soil, which has been growing for hundreds of years, you know, washes it down into the valleys and down into the seas, and it's like an ecological disaster, basically. So by digging these trenches or swales, what's happening is that the rainwater is now being captured, filling up the swale, and then overflowing into we have an overflow there, and it overflows into the next swale and into the next swale. And as they sit in the swale, which they'll sit for days and weeks and months, probably in a place like the UK, they're recharging the groundwater. They're slowly infiltrating into the water table and recharging the water table with more and more water. And again, by keeping water on the land, especially in a dry place like Malta, but anywhere, the more water we keep on the land and in the water table, the more we're going to charge the whole ecosystem, and the more we're going to get out of the land as well.
So you're healing the earth there, basically.
Big time this, you know, the more people do this around the world, the better.
Yes.
Get a field and put some swales in, and then you're going to have super nutrients, you know, as well. Here we have the Geodesic Dome. What we've done over here again is we built in a low impact way. Like you can see with this teepee over here, we've just used bamboo and natural materials to create a sort of makeshift shelter. So these are non-permanent structures, they're not fixed to the ground. There's no concrete, there's no foundation, it's just using bamboo. And they're covered with, in this case, canvas, in that case, palm leaves. And they provide a basic shelter for anybody that's out in the rain that wants the shelter. So these are very efficient buildings because they take a little bit of resources and time to construct, and they're natural. Canvas is cotton, it breathes energetically and both literally in terms of air. So that's a really nice thing.
Yeah, I was surprised when I went in for the first time at how big it is inside.
Yeah.
It's almost
50 square meters.
50 square meters. Yeah, it looks a lot bigger from the inside, which you don't say very often, really.
Yeah.
Very well designed.
And we'll put it in the trees, we didn't have to cut any trees to do it. It blends in perfectly with nature. It can be moved, you know. So it has a lot of advantages. And just the purpose is that if it's raining and someone is doing a workshop or a meditation, they can come in here and still carry on doing that.
Without getting soaked.
Without getting soaked, that's it.
The dome was the first thing to be built in November 2012, built on some derelict land that had been donated to the project. It was specifically designed to allow energy to circulate freely through it, and soon became a popular place to hold talks, group meditations, yoga sessions, and other events held to embrace creativity through music and art. And in the summer they held some really popular events as well.
I'm a new soul, I came to this strange world hoping I could learn a bit about how to give and take. But since I came here, felt the joy and the fear, finding myself making every possible mistake.
How have the local people here reacted to you?
Good question.
Setting up?
Most of them thought we were crazy, and they said like, what do you mean you're going to grow vegetables in clay or in straw? And we're like, yeah, we saw on the internet. Oh, the internet, what do you know from the internet? But we are learning by doing, and there's a very long tradition of agriculture over here in this area, and it's a very conventional agricultural system that they use, which they probably use everywhere. Pesticides, fertilizer, I feel exploiting the land, you know, because that's the way they've been taught. It's not their intention. So we're trying to do things in a more sustainable way, where we'll give back to the land, you know, not just take from it. And every year we enrich the soil rather than deplete it. So they looked at us kind of like, what are these guys doing, you know? But then they saw that we had good intentions, and we just want to grow veg, and we just want to plant trees and sort of respect nature and encourage these things, and I think they show respect more and more as time goes by.
Sadly, we were there in November, so didn't get to attend any of the events, and were more involved in the next stage of the project, the development of an eco-friendly village which still retains its desire to inspire creativity.
And this is the art garden. Basically recycled everything over here. We use stones to become seating around the trees. We just created another space where people can have workshops, talks. People have done yoga and meditation over here. And it's just another simple space in nature that can easily be used for 50-60 people over here to have a talk in and
do a nice area to hang out in.
That's it.
Right, did you get these for free?
Yes.
These are table then.
These are great. Anybody can get these. If you go down to the local electricity company, this is what they get the electricity cables on.
Yeah.
And then they chuck them. So these make excellent tables. You can paint them. And they're wood, so they blend in very nicely, you know. This is the art studio. And what we've done over here is we've created a space where children or adults can come and can get messy with paints. Not need to worry about messing up the floor, messing up the room, or getting paint on the ceiling. Everything is welcome here. And so it's just a space that people can express themselves in, come here with their kids and
open up that creative part of the brain.
Yeah.
Which is often diminished in our Western world, you know, it's all logic and...
Yes, it's the suppression of the feminine, it's called, it's done purposely, you know. So they stifle our creativity and make us into logical thinking machines that jump when they say. Yeah. And by reactivating your creativity, you know, your creative feminine impulses, it's a very spiritual thing, you know, you're balancing your masculine and feminine. Like bridges are formed between the left and the right hemisphere, I was reading somewhere, which enable us to think, you know, both in a logical and in a creative, intuitive feeling way, you know, which has been purposely suppressed. And by promoting creativity, we feel that we're contributing to this evolution in consciousness that's taking place on the planet.
And what's the story with this? This is very interesting. You painted this.
So this is a tree of the logo of Why Not, and what the logo depicts is basically a tree with different religious symbols on it, and these symbols are the sort of major world religions and things like peace sign representing, you know, the freedom movement and the hippie movement and an alien over there. And
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So it's basically showing how they're all connected and they're all saying the same thing. In my opinion, they all talk about love or a good vibration or whatever else we call it, you know. And there are just so many languages that all speak the same words, you know, and that's what this tree is saying.
Just like uniting humanity kind of message behind it.
Yeah.
That's cool, that's great. I like it tattooed on me.
Cool, right?
Yeah. So if people are interested in helping you out, how can they find you?
So we have a website which is called butwhynot.org, and they can also find us on Workaway and websites like this. I suggest they go directly to the website and you can see videos and photos of what we're doing, and you can email us and interact with us both virtually. We can use help, you know, in loads of ways, but also you can come here, you can experience living here for a few weeks, you can learn hands-on by doing. We just ask that anybody who comes with a passion, with sort of a willingness, you know, and everybody's welcome.
So if you're interested in helping out, you can volunteer, and in exchange for 25 hours of work a week, they offer you food and a place to stay. There are a range of tasks that you can be asked to do, such as general maintenance and building work, looking after the vegetation in the vegetable garden, orchards or vineyards, and there are always general tasks to do, such as chopping wood or looking after Mundo the horse. Part of the project is to spend time educating those that get involved. In the week that we were there, we learnt a lot. If you don't fancy volunteering, there are other ways to join in. For example, we made a short video to help raise funds for Mundo, the horse that they rescued from the butcher.
Obviously, it's a lot of money to raise a horse and to take care of it. We need money for food, we need money for the vet. I had to build a stable out of recycled materials. and it's a lot of commitment as well to take care of him, but at the same time it gives a lot back to the community.
And despite being there in the winter months, we met around 20 people volunteering.
My name's Courtney, I'm 18 years old, from New Zealand.
So how did you end up in Malta?
In Malta? Well, I've been travelling for 9 months now through some of the biggest cities in Europe, which were awesome, but I was really sick of the cities, really, and
Concrete,
yeah,
smoke,
exactly, and
all that.
consumerism was everywhere. I just wanted to do something completely different. So I came here. So why not?
What do you think of the Vortex?
I love it. It's different to what I expected. I was expecting more of a established camp with people actually living here full time. But I think what they've got here is perfect because all the volunteers here, we all have different stories. We've all come from different places, we're all going to different places. But just for our time here, we're all just here and united.
God, tell us, who are you?
Fine, completely.
Who are you? Not how are you.
I check.
What is your name?
Marta,
From which country?
Italy.
And why did you come to here?
To learn English.
To learn English?
More or less. For to learn English.
For to learn the English.
For to learn the best English.
Yeah.
Maltese is the first language.
So you're gonna be here for years and years then, huh? There we go, there's Marta. What area is this here? What is this area, Leo?
This?
Yeah.
This is the recycling.
This is recycling. Ah, okay.
We have a lot of things here. I think we got for free, and we might have use for them.
Ah.
I think actually it's not the best place to film it because it's really ugly looking. It's not really nice looking.
No, it's okay,
maybe
but
you
it's good
better
to...
film this.
It's good to see that people, they're reusing things. There's an old sink down here.
Yeah, it's this for seedlings.
Yeah.
And
It's like a storage bay.
yeah, the storage bay.
Some old drums. Some
Stuff that
tapes.
we might have use for them.
Yeah. So what is your name?
Leo,
And where do you come from?
from Germany.
And why did you come here?
Because I am traveling around the world and I was interested in this project because for me self-sufficient living,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in this.
Where would you like to see this place in 3 years' time?
In 3 years' time, I feel that eco-villages are the future in many respects because they provide the widest possible platform for raising the vibration of the planet. There are some very good established eco-villages like Findhorn and Auroville and Tamandegera and some others like this, and I think this is the beginning of what I hope will be an eco-village. In Malta there are many restrictions with land and with building permits, so it's a bit tricky, but probably in 3 years' time we'll have a lot more, we'll be a lot more trained in growing food, we'll have a lot better courses and workshops going on with regards to how people can grow their own stuff and how they can do things in a permaculture and sustainable way. So maybe in 10 years' time or in 15 years' time I'd like, if not this to be the seed for an eco-village housing 120 people. I don't know if it can be done on this land, but if the government had to give us some land that was not in use, you know, and so that we have the right intention, and then I'd like an eco-village to come out of it, and an eco-village to be there to, first of all, to be sustainable, both financially and in terms of food and everything, you know. I don't want it to be dependent, but also to give back to society. I want school kids to come to the eco-village to learn about trees and about food and about the planet. I want people to come to learn about yoga, people to come to learn about food and how food impacts them and impacts their family and the world at large, and all these subjects that are now, you know, that now science is seeing really do have a tangible effect on us human beings and in our interaction with life. I want the widest possible platform for this, and that's why an eco-village is the vision, it's the target, it's the goal. And how we get there, it's very organic, you know, we'll see.
Do you think that people will want to come and live in this way?
Yes, loads. Even because we just talk about it, people come and say, I want to live in an eco-village, what can I do? How can I help? And at this point, we don't have the facilities, you know, we're just building we've only set up a few tents and planting a few vegetables, but with the help of the government or some people with more money and power, basically, that really see the benefit. And then we'd be able to say, okay, let's go 20, 50 people over the next few years, you know, how is it going to work, how is it going to function? I've written about this and I've thought about this myself because I think these are the most important things, the ethics and the work and the economy of the eco-village, you know. For me this is very interesting, and the decision-making structure is another really important thing, you know, like fair, ethical decision-making structure.
Have a look.